What happens at the First Battle of Tumbleton? House of the Dragon explained. Warning! This video contains spoilers from House of the Dragon and George R.R. Martin's Fire and Blood. If you haven't caught up with the latest episodes and want to avoid spoilers, this is your warning. Now let's explain. Dance of the Dragons is filled with unforgettable battles. Rook's Rest, the Gullet, God's Eye. But few are remembered with as much horror as the First Battle of Tumbleton. This wasn't simply another clash between the Blacks and the Greens. It became one of the darkest days in Targaryen history. A battle defined not just by dragons, but by betrayal, greed, and one decision that completely changed the course of the war. Many fans believe the Greens won because of their larger army. But that's only part of the story. The real reason Tumbleton became legendary was because two of Queen Rhaenyra's greatest dragonriders made a shocking choice that nobody expected. A choice that changed the balance of power almost overnight. So what exactly happened during the First Battle of Tumbleton? Who betrayed the Blacks? And why is this battle considered one of the biggest turning points in the entire Dance of the Dragons? Let's explain. Why was Tumbleton so important? Before the battle even began, Tumbleton had already become one of the most strategic locations in Westeros. Located in the Reach. The town sat along important roads connecting King's Landing with Old Town. Whoever controlled Tumbleton controlled one of the most valuable supply routes in the war. That made it a major objective for both sides. By this point in the dance, Lord Ormond Hightower had gathered a massive green army. Supported by Prince Daeron Targaryen and his blue dragon Tessarion, their goal was simple: capture Tumbleton, break the Black defenses, and continue marching toward King's Landing. The Blacks prepared to defend the town. Queen Rhaenyra's supporters knew they couldn't allow Tumbleton to fall. River lords, northern soldiers, and experienced commanders gathered to defend the town. Among their greatest advantages were the newly chosen dragon seeds. Common-born dragonriders who had successfully claimed some of House Targaryen's most powerful dragons. Two of those riders stood above everyone else. Hugh Hammer, rider of Vermithor, the second largest living dragon after Vhagar, and Ulf White, rider of Silverwing, the legendary dragon once ridden by Queen Alysanne. Together, these dragons should have guaranteed victory for the Blacks. At least, that's what everyone believed. The battle begins. When the Green Army finally attacked, the fighting quickly became intense. Archers filled the sky with arrows. Heavy cavalry charged across the battlefield. Thousands of soldiers collided outside the town. For a time, neither side could gain a decisive advantage. The Black forces fought fiercely, while Lord Ormond Hightower continued pushing forward. Then the dragons entered the battle, and everything changed. Dragonfire turned entire sections of the battlefield into burning ruins. Soldiers who had survived years of war suddenly found themselves facing impossible destruction. Yet even with dragons, the outcome remained uncertain, until one shocking moment changed everything. The treasons of Tumbleton. The event that made this battle famous wasn't the fighting itself, it was betrayal. At the height of the battle, Hugh Hammer and Ulf White suddenly abandoned Queen Rhaenyra's cause. Instead of attacking the Green Army, they turned their dragons against their own allies. Vermithor, one of the most terrifying dragons alive, began burning Black soldiers. Silverwing followed. The battlefield descended into complete chaos. Nobody knew who they could trust anymore. Men who had been fighting beside the dragon seeds only moments earlier suddenly became their targets. Entire formations collapsed. Commanders lost control. Panic spread across the battlefield. History would forever remember Hugh Hammer and Ulf White as the two betrayers because of what happened that day. Why did Hugh Hammer and Ulf White betray Rhaenyra? This remains one of the biggest mysteries in Fire and Blood. George R.R. Martin never gives one definitive answer. Some accounts claim Hugh Hammer believed he deserved to become king himself. Others suggest greed, power, or promises made by the Greens convinced both men to change sides. Whatever their motivation, their decision instantly transformed the battle. Instead of giving Queen Rhaenyra two powerful dragons, they handed those dragons to her enemies. That single act shifted the balance of the entire war. Even today, Fans continue debating whether ambition, fear, or simple opportunism drove their betrayal. The sack of Tumbleton. After the betrayal, the battle quickly became a massacre. The Green Army overwhelmed the remaining defenders. The town itself suffered terribly. Homes were burned. Buildings collapsed beneath dragonfire. Countless civilians lost their lives. Instead of becoming a glorious military victory, the First Battle of Tumbleton became remembered as one of the darkest tragedies of the Dance of the Dragons. The destruction shocked both sides of the conflict. Even many Green supporters were horrified by the scale of devastation. It wasn't simply a battle, it became a warning of what dragon warfare could truly become. What happened to Lord Ormond Hightower? Ironically, even though the Greens gained control of Tumbleton, Lord Ormond Hightower did not survive the battle. According to Fire and Blood, he was killed during the fighting by Lord Roderick Dustin, known as Roddy the Ruin. His death created confusion among Green commanders, yet because Hugh Hammer and Ulf White had already changed sides, the Greens still emerged victorious despite losing one of their most important leaders. How the battle changed the Dance of the Dragons. The First Battle of Tumbleton changed everything. Before the battle, Queen Rhaenyra believed her greatest advantage was dragons. After Tumbleton, she could no longer fully trust the people riding them. The betrayal of Hugh Hammer and Ulf White destroyed confidence inside her own faction. Suspicion spread rapidly. Every dragon rider suddenly became a potential threat. That fear would influence many of Rhaenyra's later decisions, and some of those decisions would prove just as devastating as the battle itself. Will House of the Dragon change the story? One of the biggest questions surrounding the television adaptation is how Ryan Condal will portray the First Battle of Tumbleton. Season 3 has already shown that the series is willing to expand, rearrange, and reinterpret events from Fire and Blood. Recent episodes have changed battle timelines, added original character moments, and explored motivations that George R.R. Martin only briefly described. That means Tumbleton may not unfold exactly as readers remember. The overall outcome could remain the same, while the journey to reach it becomes very different. And honestly, that uncertainty makes the adaptation even more exciting, because even long-time readers can no longer predict every scene. Why Tumbleton is one of the most important battles. Many fans think the Dance of the Dragons is simply a war between rival Targaryens. But Tumbleton proves the conflict is really about something much deeper: power, loyalty, and the dangerous belief that dragons alone guarantee victory. The First Battle of Tumbleton showed that the greatest threat wasn't always the enemy across the battlefield. Sometimes, it was the ally fighting beside you. One betrayal accomplished what thousands of soldiers could not. It reshaped the future of Westeros and pushed the Dance of the Dragons into an even darker chapter. Final thoughts. So what happens at the First Battle of Tumbleton? It begins as a crucial military confrontation between the Blacks and the Greens, but it becomes remembered for something far more shocking: the betrayal of Hugh Hammer and Ulf White, the destruction of an entire town, and one of the most devastating turning points in the Dance of the Dragons. Without the treasons of Tumbleton, the outcome of the war might have looked very different. Instead, the battle changed the balance of power, destroyed trust among the dragon seeds, and proved that dragons could win wars. But they could also destroy the people who believed they controlled them. What do you think? Did Hugh Hammer and Ulf White betray Rhaenyra because of ambition, greed, or were they simply choosing the side they believed would ultimately win? Share your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more House of the Dragon breakdowns, character explanations, book comparisons, hidden details, battle analyses, and everything surrounding the Dance of the Dragons.